John chapter 1, the opening verses. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning, and through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. John chapter 1, verse number 5. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. One of the great biblical images that we read at the beginning of every year, if you do any kind of Bible reading plan, is John chapter 1, this idea that Jesus is light, and his light has now come into the darkness. And so often whenever we view that verse, we think of it appropriately, as though you and I are living in darkness, directionless, we have no idea where to go, and we are longing for some kind of clarity. And so God sends his Son to earth to now give us that clarity. And sure enough, that's the image that's going on in John chapter 1. It's a beautiful thing. Imagine being encased in darkness. You're frozen. You don't know where to go. But then suddenly you have a light. You can begin to walk in that direction. There's no question that part of John chapter 1 is this idea that we are in darkness longing for light. But there's another illustration that's going on here. You see, there are other times in which we are in darkness and we want to be in darkness. I remember whenever my kids were little, right? You'd finally get them to bed and sleep and everything would be great. You'd go to your room, you'd finally get asleep. And then all of a sudden, one of them would just appear by your bed. And there was one night in which, I don't remember which of my kids it was, that they were scared of the darkness themselves. And so they had gotten a flashlight, used it all the way around, came to my side of the bed, shined it in my face, wanted me to wake up because they needed help. That is not the kind of light you want. In that moment, which your eyes are dilated, the light is overwhelming. It's almost painful to you. You'd rather be in darkness. Here's what you and I don't like to admit oftentimes, even those of us who are followers of Jesus. There are times in which we'd rather be in darkness. We want it as an excuse. We want it to cover up the sinful choices that we want to make. Don't want to be held accountable to the truth. And so we shy our eyes away. We live in darkness, just using that. And Jesus' light penetrates, and we want to turn away. The light is painful and it's overwhelming. And yet one aspect of becoming a follower of Jesus is that over time, you learn that even whenever pain comes your way, because of Jesus, you can actually lean into it. What is the section of Scripture that you like the least? That might be what you need the most. What's the command of God that you want to ignore or not pay attention to? That might be the very thing that you need to obey. You see, for all of us, there are some areas in our lives in which we are longing to live in darkness. And the bad news of John chapter 1 is that Jesus sends his light to penetrate even that. And yet, just like Jesus, even that initial bad news becomes good news. Because when you and I begin to lean into even the very thing that makes us uncomfortable, that causes us a little bit of pain, we will be able to begin to see what the Serenity Prayer has long taught us, that actually hardship is the pathway to peace. And so whatever is difficult for you today, whatever area of darkness you're living in, when that light shines in, it's okay to kind of be caught off guard. But even as painful as it is, lean into it and trust that that light is the life that we are longing for. And you and I can go toward that light today.